Rita can be a core sub DPS and a lot of strategies both now as well as into the future. Basic attack, move, discard, retain effects, as well as exhaust teams. Her kit and uses could get complicated, so if you're looking for just a base place to start, hopefully we're gonna have you, well, in the right place here on the channel. Now, the first one I'm gonna be going over is the basic sort of format you're gonna be looking at when building a traditional Rita build. So if you look at something like this, we're gonna be removing her basic cards. It can cost us 60 of our Fate memory points. Chrono Archon is going to be one of these 5 forms. The generic form is the basic version of her effect. Every time you're activating cards, you're going to be getting Chronicle for every cost of that card up to 6. You can store this and turn that into Chronal Ascension, either with its own mechanic at the start of your turn, or by using a Time Paradox, her ultimate skill card here. Time Axis Collapse, a lot of the times the 3-cost version that buffs the next 3 attack cards by Rita will be the one that you're gonna be putting in your deck. There are some other variants you'll be seeing in some of these builds as well, such as the one that increases vulnerable damage in some circumstances. This one here, Future Decreed, is going to be the generic version you're going to be looking at here. It costs 2. It's going to give you 2 Chronicle because it costs 2 if you're trying to build your Chronicle up, but it can also activate 2 random 2 costs in your hand as well to help you build that Chronicle up faster without actually having to spend EP. And a lot of the time you're gonna be using this version of Future Decreed to cast the Fate imprints that you're actually generating off of Chronal Circle. This creates 3 Fate imprints, the base version of it. If you get the Epiphany 1, this is gonna be the main way you're gonna be doing damage with your Rita, and having Future Decreed to both build up as well as spend your Chronal Ascension on your Fate imprints is going to be amazing for you. We're also going to be leaving in Time Paradox 1000% of the time here, as it's a way for you to on-demand move your Chronicle and turn it into her own mechanic, Chronal Ascension. And in addition to what you see here, there are a couple of different side grades that aren't really going to help or hurt you that much as you're building your Rita. You don't need specifically these things. For example, Chrono Archon, if you're getting Epiphany for it, you can get either the first or the second one. It doesn't matter too much. In my opinion, the first one that gives you Chronicle back when Chronal Ascension is removed is just a little bit more efficient, is just a little bit better than the one that does random damage at the end of the turn. But it's not going to make or break your Rita build, which one of these 2 that you are using for your build. If you can get the first one, awesome. If you can't and you have to pick up the second one, that's fine as well. Another thing we need to talk about is Chronal Circle. So traditionally, most of the time, we're going to be using Chronal Circle 1 that generates 3 Fate imprints. However, if you don't get that one on your run, you're building your Rita, everything else is going really well, you can sit back and just get the Chronal Circle 2. This one's going to create 2 Fate imprints, and it has a retain effect of creating another Fate imprint. So in comparison to the first Epiphany, you're gaining 1 less Fate imprint if you just draw the second Epiphany and play it immediately that turn. But if you have this retain effect proc at least 1 time, you're still getting those 3 Fate imprints you would get off of the 1 use of Chronal Circle. While not as good in most situations, if you really need to, everything else is going really well, you're putting Rita together for the first time, don't cry out in horror and cry out in pain because you couldn't get the 3 imprint creation Chronal Circle. The creating 2 with the retain effect of creating just 1 extra one when you retain it is going to be pretty equivalent to Chronal Circle 1 that's creating 3 Fate imprints for you. And while it's not necessary, a card I do want to bring up that is a neutral card added to Season 2 here at the end is actually Flame of Eternity. Flame of Eternity is going to be able to increase the damage of cards that have a cost of 1 or higher by 40%. It's also going to increase the cost of attack cards by 1 as well. This is going to be more niche in some circumstances, but it's definitely something that you can facilitate in a more Rita focused main DPS team where you have her situated with some other supports that don't really have attack cards to be casting. And this Flame of Eternity works very, very well with Fate Imprint that scales its damage off of the cost of the card itself. Just do know that if you're using a Flame of Eternity, it's going to increase your costs by 1. So your Fate imprints will start at 3, meaning that Future Decreed 4 here, that's activating 2 random 2-cost cards, isn't going to do anything if you're using Flame of Eternity. And so you're going to want to move this on over to Future Decreed 2, which is going to be a 0 cost that can activate random 3-cost cards in your hand. Outside of that, a lot of the times your Rita decks are going to be kind of small. You don't need to duplicate a ton of her cards over and over and over. You really are going to be focusing on getting another copy of Chronal Circle, at least one more. You don't need a ton of them though, because the amount of AP that you can spend just on AP alone, or even with Chronal Ascension, if you're just dumping all of that into Fate imprints, is, well, pretty spectacular. You don't need to be having 6 Fate imprints, 7, 8, 9 Fate imprints in your hand, as every time you're casting one, the cost of the card increases as well. So a very basic Rita deck is going to look just like this. You're going to have Chrono Archon, the base version. You're going to have Time Axis Collapse, Future Decree 2, as well as 2 Chronal Circles to generate those Fate imprints, as well as Time Paradox. This is going to be the basic version, the template, if you will, off of what you should be building your more intricate Rita designs off. If you're a new player, you want something to just build and be useful to you, this is something that you should be able to aim for quite easily. Now for some variations, discard's one that you can do pretty easily if you're using some of your favorite discard characters. The build's going to be relatively the same on Rita with Future Decree, right? 4 Chronal Circles. Chrono Archon is going to be the change here. You're going to be using the discard version of Chrono Archon. It still has the effect that you gain Chronicle for the cost of all the cards you're playing, but in addition to that, every time you discard a card, you gain Chronicle as well, allowing you to get, well, bonus free AP from Chrono Ascension without actually having to spend AP all of the time on your cards. This allows characters like Nia to come in here, use stuff like Adagio, right? Draw some cards or discard some cards, and still gain Chronicle stacks off of characters casting 0-cost skills. If you're a Rinoa fan out there, this is someone else that you could potentially use with a discard focused Rita. Use something like Flower of Devouring to discard some cards, generate Dirge Bullets that way, and technically generate some AP for Rita because it's going to be generating Chronicle that you can turn into Chronal Ascension in that regard as well. So if you're looking for like a discard Rita build, it's basically going to be the same thing that you're building as a base form Nia, but the only real card that we're needing to change is the Epiphany of Chrono Archon. A more interesting one is something that's not entirely focused on casting her scaling cards, her exhaust cards, and more focused on a basic attack version of Rita. Now this version is leaving Time Acceleration in the deck. This is going to be a 3-cost skill that is 350% base multiplier before your potentials. The version of Archon that you're using in this build doesn't matter too much. You can get away with the base version. You can just throw this kind of into any deck. Doesn't need to be focused on discard or retain or anything specific. And we're also still going to be using and very focusing in on the 3-cost version of Time Axis Collapse, as it's going to be able to buff up the next 3 attack cards of Rita by 100%. You also can use the Future Decreed 2 here. This is going to allow you to cast a random 3-drop that you have access to in your hand, typically going to be Time Acceleration for the low price of 0. But the main difference here in this basic attack focus is the Chronal Circle that we're going to be taking. We're taking this version, the Epiphany 3, cost 2 to play, and it's going to gain access to the ability for you to move your basic attack cards to your hand when you gain Chronal Ascension. Now keep in mind, this is move, this isn't draw, so you can do something like use your Time Accelerations and then gain Chronal Ascension with Time Paradox in some circumstances after you gain Chronicle again, and then move your Time Accelerations from the used pile back to your hand, and then use the Chronal Ascension that you've gained to cast them for free again that turn. It is pretty cool. It is lower in the power ceiling than a typical Rita build will be because you're, well, focused in and limited to basically casting 4 Time Accelerations at maximum per turn. You can do some pretty cool stuff with this though, and it is very easy to kind of put together once you grasp the concept of this deck. And she does have a pretty powerful partner in the form of Ray, where you can use this version of Strike of Darkness, costs 0, and it's going to activate all basic cards in your hand, which is going to count Rita's very expensive basic cards as well. And you'll be able to just get those in there for free, gain Chronal, and then turn it into Chronal Ascension, and be able to move them back to your hand with your Rita's Epiphany of Chronal Circle and cast them again for free. So it's a very easy sort of, I want Rita kind of just hanging around. I need a sub DPS, do some damage. If you're building a like basic attack focused team in the future, Rita's going to be pretty good there with the likes of someone like Ray. Now, the last one here is going to be the big hand version of, well, Rita. So we're using Chronal Ascension 1 here. This is going to allow you to gain Chronicle based off of the card's cost when they're activated. You also have this version that gives you Chronal Ascension. When it's removed, it's going to give you 3 Chronicle back, allowing you to be just a little bit more AP efficient. And it's probably one of my most favorite epiphanies for Chronal Ascension if you're not doing discard focused or exhaust focused or retain focused stuff. It's just a little bit of extra pizzazz at the start of your turn. You're going to get that 3 Chronicle and makes you just a little bit more efficient. Time Axis Collapse is going to be this version here, which is an attack card, 450 base mod, and then it increases the damage by 20% for the combined cost of all of your cards into your hand, up to a maximum of 200%. Or you could also stick with Time Axis Collapse that buffs up the damage of the next 3 cards that you use. This is very similar to the base version of Rita. So what is it that you would want to be using something like this with? Well, we have a couple of different things that you can do down here, and you would want to pair this up with someone like Calliope, right? If you're able to proc Vulture Ejection with like AP on it, whether it's the divine version or you get the common AP, you can proc this very easily with a lot of Rita's different cards. There's very many cards that Rita has access to that's going to pull out this celestial mechanic. Now, when we're looking at equipment for Rita, weapons, there's going to be a fair big, well, a couple of weapons that we're looking at. When we're looking at gear, we're talking about weapons, a Brilliant Eternal Flame. If you're in season 2, if you gain access to this, it's fine if you're using her exhaust cards that you're generating from the Chronal Circles. Remember, they do have exhaust, so you're going to be able to do damage with them and get the damage bonus from Brilliant Eternal Flame. We also have access to what the Cthulhu monster, Intellect of Discord, right? 18% attack on a unique weapon. We love it. We don't hate it. It's there. It's going to be doing good things for us. There's a couple of different other things. You've seen them as you're running through your chaos runs, things that give you bonus crit damage, right? Like the dagger that tricked the shadows. These are all fine. And then obviously we're in season 2. If you're looking for a nice little boost to your damage, the Millennium Arbor is still really good here as well, because when you're activating a 3 cost or higher card, you're going to put vulnerable on a random enemy, which is absolutely absurd, as most of the damage dealing cards you're going to be casting multiple times per turn are going to be, you're going to have at least 2 3-cost cards to put up a couple of pieces of vulnerability for your Rita to take advantage of. When it comes to body armor, one of the biggest DPS increases, and maybe the only one you can get, is going to be Fairy King's Crown. This is the biggest one. It gives you 6% crit chance here. We love that. We do not hate that at all. And traditionally, the body piece isn't something you can really get a lot of damage out of on your damage dealers, especially if they're attack scalers. So if you can't find the Fairy King's Crown or something that's going to give you some sort of bonus damage that you really care about, one thing that you can look for is the body piece that is a blue that gives you a little bit of survivability with Vine Camouflage. This is going to give you evade if your HP is 30% or less. It can be a little bit of a make or break on some of the harder fights potentially that you're doing inside of some of the harder content like the seasonal bosses or even the leaderboard. When it comes to accessories, legendary accessories that are pretty good, well, we have the mainstay Rage Potion during season 2. After 4 attack cards are activated, increase the damage of the next attack card activated by 40%. If you wanted a small damage bonus, we have stuff like the Quantum Collector still. And then we also have the old mainstay Dimensional Cube. You can discard cards and increase your damage that way if you're using some of those Rita discard strategies. And if you can't find any of those on your accessory slot, Amorphous Cube is still there to give you that 25% damage bonus. When you're picking different fragments to select from, Beast Yearning 4-piece is going to be pretty decent here, as it's going to work well with your exhaust cards you're generating, if that is the build and the way you're doing damage. Basically, as long as you're not using the basic attack Rita build, Beast Yearning is pretty good. It's going to give you that 30% bonus up to 5 times per turn. And while 5 times is a lot of AP and chrono that you're going through, so it's very, very hard to go over the Beast Yearning limit with Rita herself. For another 4-piece that you could be looking at here as well is going to be none other than Line of Justice. Line of Justice is going to be 20% crit chance on cards that cost 2 or more. Another one that you can be looking at here is going to be Line of Justice. This just give you 20% crit chance on cards that cost 2 or more, which is a huge boost in consistency of your damage. 20% crit chance is nothing to joke about there at all. When it comes to 2 pieces, obviously Blackwing 2-piece set, 12% attack is something that's very near and dear to my heart and probably yours. 2-piece of 25% crit damage on Executioner's Tool is great too. And if you're using a base attack card build, don't forget about the South Scarab 2-piece bonus, which increases the damage, shield, as well as healing of your base cards by 20%, which is pretty substantial in a Rita base build. And then on top of that, if you have someone in your party inflicting agony with just maybe a random epiphany, maybe it's something you have on Rita as well, don't forget about Curse Corp existing. That increases your damage by 10% if those enemies do in fact have agony on them. The damage output of all of these different combinations of sets are pretty similar. My personal favorite is going to be Line of Justice. If I was to build Rita, you want to aim for consistency, just DPS all day on these RPG type games, and pair her with something like Executioner's Tool for 25% crit damage. So pick a 4-piece and get a 2-piece of your liking that have really good substat rolls and put them together on your Rita. We're aiming for crit chance as well as crit damage. So on the right side, we have crit chance main up top. Then we're going to be using a justice damage 5 and attack percent 6 as well. Then we're aiming for crit chance, crit damage, as well as attack percent on our substats for our Rita build. When it comes to partners, hey man, guess what? We're playing a gacha game. So the 5-star partner is, well, going to be one of her best in slot partners in the form of Ivy. If you don't want to be pulling on the partner banner, and honestly, who does in this game, you could lose a little bit of damage, if not maybe just gain a tiny bit, depending on how much of the activation ego skill of Ivy you plan on using with Rita anyway. And just stick with Eloise. You're going to be able to get Eloise 4-star. You're going to be able to get some imprints for her and have 16% attack on your Eloise. Increase the combatant's attack card damage by 20%, which is a tiny bit worse than Ivy's. But in addition to that, every time you either exhaust a card or gain a status element card, key one being we can exhaust cards all day on our Rita, you're going to get another 24% damage amount added to your attack cards for 1 turn as well. So Eloise at max imprint is giving you 16 attack as well as basically 44% attack card damage increase every single turn. So hopefully this helped you out with Rita and showing the possibilities of what you can do with her. Till then, like the video, God bless, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.